this shit lasts. Burning down to the wake-up call, to the sun grows cold, to the making it down. Judgment is what they find us, so deep out just to be so conscious. I'm back in your past, you find one I can't run. It's not all your life, what's begun, free run. Someday it's time, don't let me outside. Gotta see me all night, so I don't let you go. And I don't like the way you smile upon me. What's the meant to be for you?
Everything I did for her, she kept taking me for granted and showed no mercy in fading me away. But that time has come and gone, now everything we need is in our hands. So draw a line in the sand and repeat after me.
I won't look back to what cannot be changed. I won't look back to what cannot be changed. And I don't like the way you smile upon me. What's that meant to be? And I don't care about the way you smile upon me. What's that meant to be for you? Now you know I can't do this on my own. There's problems.
The number you have dialed has been changed. The new number is, please note. Please note.
Never gonna stop, never gonna change, never gonna do the things you say. I run my own way to get there. Phones are calling and the eyes seem to care. In the air, no more crowd, just the opposite kind of few clouds. So tell me the storm is coming for the sake of all your lies. Why don't you try to be wise? Now that I need you anyway. I never wanted to be alive, just to feel like I'm fading. And though my heart breaks a beat at time, I press the last just to let it go. Don't lead the way, don't even say that I try with a shadow playing in the rain. I feel like I'm fading. Come on, give it all you got. Try and save me, but you're making it all worse. I'm dying to hear these words. I'll be down the road, cause I know the odds are better on my side. Why don't you try to be wise? I'm calling you cry. I never wanted to be alive, just to feel like I'm fading. And though my heart breaks a beat at time, I
And boom, just like that, it's a happy new year to each and every one of you tuning in tonight. We're the Video Bros. I'm Bobby Munson, and that man beside me, you know him. He's the man with the angelic voice. And we're going to give it a good old 2023 welcome in to Mr. Papa Smokes. Papa Smokes, happy new year. How you doing, sir? Oh, hold on, Papa Smokes. I think we got you on mute there. We'll get you back. Try that again, Papa Smokes. My apologies. Nope. Hold on. Technical difficulties one more time. Oh, Papa Smokes, you are on mute. You're going to have to unmute yourself there, my friend. As we hold out there, I think it might be working now, Papa Smokes. Give us a hell yeah if you're working.
There we go.
Woo, we're back. How you doing,
hey,
Papa Smokes?
We can come through anything. Hey, I'm doing great, Munson. A happy new year to you and yours as well, and a happy new year to all my wrestling people out there.
Speaking of wrestling people, look who's joining us in the comments tonight here, Papa Smokes. And I feel bad already because you know what? Bastard, we got her right there. Right there. There's the money spinner. Anyone giving us a sub there tonight gets a good old spin of the money spinner. Bastard 69, what's up, my brother? How you doing? Papa Smokes, man, how was New Year's for you?
Hey, it was okay, Munson. I'm not a big New Year's celebrator. I usually work and stuff like that and take it pretty quiet. So if it's nice and quiet for me, that's a good one.
You bet. Again, New Year's celebrations all over the place, and we're celebrating big time with the return of MLW here tonight. And it's an interesting one, Papa Smokes, that we're going to be talking about. We were promised big things for tonight's MLW Fusion. We were geared up for a very mighty big matchup here tonight. And again, all over our poster, even you saw all over the place, we were expecting to see a World Heavyweight Championship matchup. And we're going to get to just why we did it in a little bit here for you guys. But before we do, a couple of things we want to go over first. First, we want to thank Rogue Energy. You'll see them down below, right below Papa Smokes. You'll see that QR code. Check out Rogue Energy for an alternative to the average everyday energy drink that you're going to find in the stores. We're talking zero sugar, low calorie, vegan friendly, boosting with flavors. Available in cans if you're living in the United States, in Canada. Here, all the powdered flavors are available to us all over the place. So check out rogueenergy.com. Use the promo code OLEPODS. We'll get you 10% off of your order. And then after that, Pop Smoke, speaking of advertising, and again, this is not a sponsor of OLE. It's not a sponsor of the Video Bros, but definitely working with MLW. We got a commercial just before MLW went live here tonight. And I thought this was the beginning of the program. I thought Hammerstone was coming out with a program to kick things off. No, we got a commercial from your boy Hammer promoting a company called Blue Chew. This is the Blue Chew commercial. And this thing kicks off like you're talking promo style backstage at MLW. Hammer's going on about whether if you want to be a genetic freak, he always carries around his packet of Blue Chew, and this is a Blue Chew pill. And he actually mentions for those nights when you don't want to be out at the 1, 2, 3, you want to make sure to get yourself Blue Chew pills. And then I think the other comment was again about something about going all night and making sure your lady satisfied, and your boy Hammer guarantees it. What a funny ass commercial this one was.
And what a surprise too. I also thought here the show's starting right away. They're going to do a little clip of Hammerstone pumping up the title match tonight. And no, it's an ad for boner pills, basically a bargain bin boner pills. So very interesting. And he said sometimes even the heavyweight champion needs a little help. So
right.
Blue Chew apparently always there for Hammer. I don't know if I'm putting my order in for this yet, but if they want to sponsor us, I suppose we could do the ads too.
Come on down. We'll take all the sponsorship that's thrown our way. Again, they do have a promo code, so anybody interested could use the promo code MLW if you're looking for a little bit of Blue Chew because you want to last more than the 3 count there. Maybe you want to last a total 20 count like they have it as a count out outside the ring at MLW there.
I'm sure you're just excited for the samples, Munson.
Well, yeah, damn straight. I mean, tell me you wouldn't try them yourself there, Papa Smokes. But yeah, Blue Chew can send them away. I have no problem with that. Get a hold of us. You know how to get in contact. We're looking for other sponsorship. I mean, I think Blue Chew right beside Rogue Energy, I think would have a nice touch right at the bottom of the screen.
Hey, and maybe a good combo for a long night too.
That's right. That's all the energy you need to pump yourself right up. But you needed to be pumped up pretty damn good to get through this full episode of MLW Fusion. It's not often that you'll hear us talk a little on the more negative side of MLW Fusion. And we'll talk about the good points, of course. That's what we're here to highlight more so. We're not trying to bury anybody here, but Jesus Christ, folks, this was sluggish. We had 2 matches, and that was it. Because, again, EJ and Nduka, Hammerstone postponed. We'll get to that in a moment here. They start things off with a 6-man Lucha tag matchup. This is a match featuring Carus, Gino Medina, and Minia Basmo Negro. Again, 3 guys that we've seen that we both have said positive things about in one-on-one action. Get a little bit overdone with these 6-man tags. I guess we haven't seen one in a little while this season, but not really exactly what I was pumped up to see at the start of the show. Of course, taking on Laredo Kid, Microman, and a debut Commander is the name of this young man, coming from AAA. A lot of praise from the commentary team for Commander, saying that this guy is being touted as possibly the next breakout star coming out of Lucha Wrestling, out of AAA. So again, my eyes were focused there. This is what I wanted to see, but it's really tough to get the full spectrum of what you see in these matchups. We got 2 commercial breaks during this
3? Wasn't there 3?
2 for sure. Maybe there was 3, but yeah.
I think there might have been 3, Bob.
An atrocious amount of commercial stops for a 30-minute 6-man tag match to kick off Fusion. And again, a lot of this was just how many bumps can they get Microman to take? How many different awkward positions can they make everybody be put in with Microman? How many times can they get that cheap pop from the crowd? Because that's what it's becoming. It's becoming a cheap pop over and over again with these matches. Hello, Astrid. How you doing? Again, thank you for joining in. As always, really appreciate the love and support. Again, everybody who hasn't checked out Impact Wrestling tonight, or maybe you have and you just want to chat Impact Wrestling shortly after our show, you can go check out Astrid Bizarre over on Twitch. She's going to be joined by Cody Defoe, and they're going to be making an Impact, the show that talks all things Impact Wrestling. Because if there's one company that I say can share Thursday nights with MLW, Papa Smokes, it's absolutely Impact Wrestling. Another great company that's out there. Didn't have to, but thank you. No. We always about the support all the time. Going solo tonight, though. Oh, carrying the show. That's going to be an interesting one. Again, everybody make sure to go and support. Comments in the comment section always help to keep things going. So again, help Astrid out tonight and get those questions in. Talk all things Impact Wrestling. And Melball, gentlemen, she says, again, compliments, I guess. We clean up nicely on a Thursday night, even if we are. Hold on, I'm picking up an empty there. There we go. There's the full one. There we 3 beers into that night there, but it's a fun time. But cheers to that. So we get this 6-man matchup, and again, let's point out some of the highlights from this one. Abismo Negro, the stuff that he was laying in looked great. Laredo Kid, when he would get a few spots in, looks great. I like Laredo Kid. I think that we should see more of him in one-on-one action. Commander had some standout pieces in this matchup, especially that run across the top ropes where he then springboarded into the moonsault to go out to the outside onto his opponents. Very nicely done. Very, very high-risk maneuver there. Just awesome in that sense. That was another standout for me in this one. The other thing that stands out, and this is a bit of a negative, what's happening with Gino Medina. And again, this match was for all the marbles because, again, if somebody gets pinned, they're out of MLW. And it just, I kept worrying this whole match. I'm like, Pop Smokes, Medina's out of this thing. He's gonna take the fall here tonight. We're going to end up seeing Medina leave MLW. And for better or worse, it could be the best thing for this young man's career to go somewhere else and get some work in somewhere.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame, though, isn't it? Because we saw that over the last, let's say, 2 years, MLW have put some time and energy into building this guy. You remember when the Dynasty was one of the top heel factions in the company with Alexander Hammerstone, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, and and Richard Holiday. When Friedman left, they recruited Gino Medina to be in that faction, and it never ended up working out. And Holiday and Medina had a little bit of a feud after that, but you could see that they saw something in Medina and wanted to push him, wanted to get him up above the spot he was on in the card, but none of this stuff ever took, and I saw potential in him too. He needs some work and some polishing, and especially on promos and stuff like that, but I also saw the potential in Gino Medina, and it just never seemed to flourish in MLW. So I hope he goes on to do better stuff. I'm sure he has a deal with AAA that he does some work there. And but I think with some practice and some work, this guy could be something in the business.
Yeah, you bet. And again, like I say, it might be the best thing for him. Again, it seems like there isn't going to be any current progression for him in MLW as it stands. He goes to get some more work in, and then possibly, hey, we've seen many faces return to MLW and again come back bigger and better than ever. And Mance Warner, who we're going to be talking about a little bit later, is one of those said people as well too. But yeah, again, this one, a loser leaves MLW matchup. And again, Gino Medina did take that fall in the end. I believe it was a mistake from Taurus, or at least a dodge from the Laredo Kid that sent Taurus spearing into Gino Medina, allowing Microman to get on top for the 1-2-3. I mean, 30 minutes in, I think we spent more time having fun just chatting between the two of us and having a laugh rather than paying attention to this match. I feel it's taking away from being able to really see these guys accelerate and see their progression inside the MLW ring. I think that they could easily light things up as one of the best middleweight divisions that's out there today, but they've got to let this breathe. They got to stop doing the mixed tag matchups and let some of these guys really shine on their own and utilize it more.
Yeah, completely agree with that, because this being a match with Microman in it, it makes it somewhat predictable as to how the match is going to go and what's going to happen. But what I wanted to see was just watch some of the individual wrestlers do their bit. I wanted to see Mini Abismo Negro again. We've seen a few of his matches, but he's got some cool stuff. Commander looked real good to me, and I've also heard the buzz about him before, and his stuff was top notch. You mentioned that spot running across the top rope and that big wide moonsault that he did. There's so much airtime, like really quite nice. And I like Taurus a whole bunch. His look alone is just captivating. Such a huge guy, the costume and everything. He's also quite agile. Does all the luchador stuff to a T, but again, all I have in my notes is 30-minute mess of a match. Like, that's the only notes I took for this match, because that was the only thing pertinent to it, I think. And this match was designed to put over Microman, but what are you doing to the other talent in the meantime? You make them look absolutely crappy. Do you remember there was one spot where Microman's partners were stunned and on the outside of the ring, so now all three heels are laying the boots to Microman, and they couldn't pin him, like they couldn't keep him down. And you have to, as a promoter or as a booker, you have to be able to foresee what that's going to make your other talent look like, because it's burying them to a certain extent just to get one other guy over.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell what they were doing with the referee in this matchup, too. Not a referee that we've seen in MLW. And again, there was the time where you're talking about these three guys teaming up, giving submission holds and multiple submission holds at the same time to Microman while his two partners stunned on the outside there. And they keep making references to the referee being shady. What's he doing? What's he doing? So it almost seems like he's favoring the heel team in this matchup, but then only to find out through St. Laurent on the desk there, and also from the actions that come later in the matchup, that he's on Microman's side, because again, he hesitated to make 3 counts for Microman near the end. He gives a faster count for Microman, and it all became all about Microman and this referee helping him in the end. It was bizarre how this one played out.
Yeah, and I get that it can't be a standard, typical, traditional style match when Microman's involved. There has to be a whole bunch of cooperation from his opponents and all that stuff. I'm torn about this. I don't want to put it down too much, but it does make the business look crappy. It makes his opponents and teammates look crappy. And for what? I mean, they've put a big push onto Microman, and they want to make him a thing. They want to make him an attraction, so to speak. But at what cost? They're sacrificing the future of some of their heels just to get one dude over. And I'm not sure what the plan is long term or anything, but it seems like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak, when you've just sacrificed some of your best lower card heels just to get Microman over.
Yeah, again, not to completely rag on Microman, he's clearly over with the MLW audience, which is a big thing because there is an aura about him. He is comical in certain ways, used in the right capacities. The segments with Mance Warner, we saw a segment with him and Jacob Fatu at the end of last season, or maybe the earlier this season. Those have been all right. Like, those are where Microman kind of shines in a sense, because he's an interesting person, very interesting character, and there's not too much to do. Some of the spots that he had in the Battle Riot were perfectly acceptable too. I thought that when he was hanging on the one guy's arm and stuff, dangling over the top there, right before getting kicked in the back of the head from Real One, I thought that was fine as well too. There's certain ways that I find Microman quite enjoyable and in certain capacities, but when you do put it into these matchups, and again, like we're saying, you seem to take away from the other talent and allowing them to shine when you really should be, shining up and beefing up that middleweight division.
Yeah, and also it seems to me like the whole Microman sensation will be here for a little bit, and then I don't know if it's going to last. The things like gimmicky little angles like this never seem to last in wrestling. They have a bright shining point for a little while, and then they go quiet. So I don't know what the long-term plan is with Microman. I don't know what you really can do with him. I'm not sure he could have a one-on-one match very competently. What's Microman doing? Is he chasing a title? Is he there for some kind of glory? We don't know what his story is, but I'm just worried about the longevity and the strength of this angle with Microman. And will he stay over, and what will be the circumstances when he finishes up with MLW someday? There's just so many questions about it, and I'm not sure what they're going to do.
Yeah. I mean, again, they've pushed him to the moon, and he seems over with the crowd right now, but we'll see where it goes from there. Again, Medina taken away from MLW as of today. We'll see where he lands. Up next, we finally find out why we're being completely robbed of an MLW World Heavyweight Championship matchup. This was supposed to be the highlight of this matchup, despite the fact that, we've got another, great matchup on the card that we're going to talk about here soon. We were expecting to see the World Heavyweight Championship match, last man standing, EJ the Judge and Nduka finally getting his opportunity at Alexander Hammerstone, only to find out that Nduka's legal team have invoked a clause stating that it is too dangerous for the judge to go into this matchup, that this could make him lose money and stuff like that, that he could, end up, in the hospital or anything of the sort. So therefore, they are invoking this postponement of the matchup so they can renegotiate terms for a later date. Yeah, I did not like the placement of this at all, Pop Smokes. I was geared up for this matchup. I don't think this helped draw additional heat for the judge. This didn't help Hammer as champion. This did not work.
Well, and I'm just left to wonder what the hell happened, because we all know that this stuff, these tapings were done months ago. So how is their schedule screwed up somehow I don't understand what happened here, unless this is all part of the work, I suppose. But if it is, they really made this show a disappointment when they promised something to the fans and then didn't deliver. I don't think that's ever thought of as good business in pro wrestling. So I'm just left kind of scratching my head as to what happened here. Also, in terms of continuity and such, how many times have you seen a wrestler get his first world championship match and not decide not to go through with it.
Oh, it just
You know, like there's no reason that would make any wrestler give up a world title shot, especially when they've never had one before. Just, yeah, I have many puzzling questions about this whole thing.
well, especially when he's a heel. Like this would be his opportunity to
Yeah.
shine as a heel in this situation, an opportunity to use those dirty tactics and those, you know, all those gray areas that aren't allowed in pro wrestling regularly. This is the kind of way that he can outshine the champion. He can use interference. He can use those weapons around ringside and all the things that would help protect him in terms of having to go one-on-one with the champion and having the champion's advantage in the matchup itself. So again, this really didn't do anything in terms of having me any more excited for this matchup coming up now, because I was expecting it tonight. I was geared up for it tonight. I hope that they change my mind, because I think this did a real dent in this feud that I felt was just heating up.
Yeah, and I was thinking about the build to this as well. There wasn't much of a hot build to this match. It hasn't even been long since Nduka has been acting heel-like, because him and Tankman as the tag champs were baby faces. But we have seen hide nor hair of Tankman since the break happened over the summer. So now we've got Nduka turning heel. He basically only had one segment where him and Hammerstone put their hands on each other, which was the Thez press, or the tackle off of the stage through the little table thing, which didn't look so great and didn't go so great for the wrestlers either. And that was really all the build there was for a title match, which was going to be on their TV. So I don't know what's going on here. Like, it feels like something went wrong and they had to kind of scramble to put this show together. But I don't know how that happens when you have all your tape in the can from months ago, and it's got to be all edited and stuff like that. And I'm puzzled completely.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Bob Smokes. And again, I wonder if like this has to do with them saying that they're seeking out people for editing episodes of Fusion. Are they just getting so far behind that they don't know what to do? And like some of this is getting rushed last minute. Again, Court Bauer, call me, man. I've applied a few different times for this position. That or putting the video packages together. Going to say it right now. I can save this. I can help you recover these things. So give me a call, man. Answer your emails already. So moving on from the Nduka Hammerstone stuff, and hopefully again they change my mind. We go to a promo from Mance Warner backstage, and again, this is becoming frustrating. This was the exact same Mance Warner promo that they played on the last episode before the break that they took for the holiday season. Why? When like they can't pre-tape another thing or get something else on the show. You got Willie Mack and the Swollen Werewolf Jacob Fatu in the main event, and only one of them speaks before that match happens. Why couldn't you have a pre-tape from Willie Mack in this spot?
Yeah, and for the fact that there was only 2 matches on this show, there wasn't a lot of other pre-tape promos or anything like that. We heard from Alex Kane and Mr.Thomas, and a couple other short segments. That same Mance Warner episode interview from last time with Sam Laterna, with his David Allen Coe guitar there and everything. But this seemed like a show that was stitched together out of the old scraps that they had lying around. And other than the main event title match, or sorry, not title match, but the main event match was pretty solid and pretty good. But what about the rest of this show? That it was mostly taken up by that 6-man Lucha match at the beginning. I was even saying to you while we were watching that, Liz, they all had separate entrances. Then they stood in the ring for a long time before that match got going. They did their milling about and all that stuff, and the referee checking everybody. But I just thought, is this thing ever going to start? Like, it had to be 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes maybe even by the time the bell rang and the action started. And then you have a 25-minute match after that. that's like very huge chunk of your show done on one match, which I mean has some implications in the furthering of Microman, but other than that, good God, man, like you're starving some of this talent that could be on TV, and yeah, this just didn't work out to be my favorite episode. But when we get to the main event, I have some good things to say about that.
Me too, and we'll get there right away. And again, it makes me wonder why it is when you've got this many middleweight talents at your disposal at these cards and stuff like that, instead of doing one 6-man tag that goes for this long, why can't you have 3 one-on-one encounters in that division, all taped, all about 7 to 8 minutes long, so that you can use those as that in-between matchup on episodes of Fusion? You can have your opening match, you can have a 7 to 8 minute middleweight match somewhere in between, then you got your main event. Again, this would really help with the flow of Fusion. Even if you only had 2 matches, I'd rather take a one-on-one, even 8 to 10 minute matchup from the middleweight division rather than a 30-minute 6-man tag match.
And think of what some of those luchadors could do if they were in one-on-one matches as well, because those luchas made to flow, like to have a rhythm and keep flowing and flowing throughout. But a 6-man tag match, it interrupts the flow when there's people lying outside the ring and other people here, and they have to always look for their spots and wait for the other guy to get into position. In terms of a one-on-one match, that way, I always find the action to be more smooth and more fluid, because it's just those 2 guys and they can get their chemistry going together and their rhythm and their style and all that stuff. And then that way you get to see what the skills of each guy actually are in the context of a one-on-one match. And it just works out better that way. I'd rather see that as well.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. But after a very kind of, like, in my opinion, sluggish start to this program, business started to pick up a little bit from here. Again, right away, my interest peaked when I saw Jacob Fatu and the Samoan SWAT team standing on the screen. This is a pre-tape interview earlier this week. Jacob Fatu talking about the history of him and Willie Mack. Again, how he's going to give him a beat down like he always does inside that ring. Doesn't matter if they've been friends for years or anything like that, because when it comes to ring time, Jacob Fatu's all business. Man, this sounded good. As always, is Jacob Fatu ever bad when he talks? No. Is he ever bad when he wrestles? No, because this guy is phenomenal. Again, backed up by Lance Anawai and Juicy Finau, who had a Mickey in his hand as he's slugging that back. Juicy sucking back the juice here tonight. Again, here's where I got more interested in the program, because the Samoan SWAT team, they could go on just to do some advertising, and I'd be more interested than I am with some of this stuff.
Yeah, these guys are such a good little faction. Jacob Fatu, as you said, he's real all the way through, so his promos come across as just an angry guy yelling at you, and he makes some jokes and stuff too, but I love it. I never knew all that time through Contra unit and everything. He barely ever spoke or did a promo. I had no idea he was so talented, and I call it talented, but it's kind of just like he channels his inner self and but spices it up a little bit for the channel, right? And that's probably always ultimately the most successful wrestling character you can have, is just yourself spiced up a little bit, right? That's the ultimate goal, is to not have a gimmick, but to just be able to let your own personality come through. And that's what Fatu does every time. Always good to see our buddy Lance and Juicy as well. Good faction. A little bit of comedy, but they're also scary and intimidating, so they walk the line with that perfectly. Yeah, Samoan SWAT team all day for me.
Oh, yeah, and again, like, while Fatu looks great throughout all of this and continues to look like a star, this is helping Lance and Juicy a lot, because this is putting them in the spotlight, putting them there with a former world champion, really pushing these guys and getting them over. We've said it before, it can't be long, and those 2 boys are wearing gold in MLW.
Yeah, I can't see it going any other way, because just the way the tag team division is set up right now, I think they're getting the push. They've had a few of those fairly quick and fairly dominant wins on MLW Fusion, the TV show. So, yeah, I think they're primed for a shot. Obviously, Nduka and Tankman will drop the belts at some point. I'm going to guess sooner rather than later, but I don't know what the status is with Calvin Tankman right now, if he's even active with the company. But obviously, those tag team belts will have to get dropped. At this point, it seems like a perfect strategy to put Samoan SWAT team with the gold on.
Yeah, you bet it is. Speaking of great teams in MLW, and again, teams that recently had gold and probably deserve a lot more, but one in particular that's still holding a very nice and beautiful prize. We go backstage to a promo with a Bomaye Fight Club, Mr. Alex Kane, and he is holding the Bomaye Cup of the Gods, as he is renamed the Opera Cup. He's talking about a tournament for the Bomaye Cup of the Gods, a worldwide Bomaye Fight Club tournament for the cup. And he's mentioning all the countries that be involved in this thing. And again, I'm pretty sure in Alex Kane's mind, it doesn't matter how good they all are. In the end, they're going to have to come up against the best, and that is Mr. Alex Kane. But the even cooler part about this thing is we haven't seen him in a while, especially since he got laid out along with half the locker room by some unknown assailant that has virtually disappeared all of a sudden in the last few weeks. Mr. Thomas shows up once again, and again, allowing Mr. Thomas to speak on this episode, which we haven't seen much in MLW. This guy is a phenomenal talker, and I think that should be utilized a lot more often in MLW. Great dude that also joined us here on the show one night, and, you know, I can't say enough about Mr. Thomas. He's good in the ring. He is a nice big boy, and he's got a personality to boot. Why not utilize this guy as much as possible?
For sure. And that was one of the things that I enjoyed so much about our interview with him, was that I had no idea what he was going to be like, because he never said anything on the show. But once we talked to him, that flowering personality just came right out. And he's hilarious and an intelligent and witty man as well. So when he got a little speaking part on the show tonight, I was just cheering on Mr. T. I like him so much. And it's good if they let him develop that a little bit. If a guy can talk, you should let him talk to some certain degree or some small extent. And yeah, we got to hear his voice, and he looked and sounded perfectly comfortable on there.
You bet he did. So glad to see him back on. And again, next week, we've got some awesome stuff in store for MLW Pop Smokes. Hopefully no postponement lawyers are going to get involved with next week's card, because if it pans out, we've got a big night. We've got the MLW Middleweight Championship. I hope this is a championship match. Newly crowned champion, Mr. Shun Skywalker, who we got to see debut in that title match and kick some serious ass that night. And we're getting one-on-one again. Yes, one-on-one versus Lince Dorado. This should be awesome.
And now you're talking. We just talked about wanting to see some of those middleweight one-on-one matches. This should be a hot one, because you and I both liked that debut of Shun Skywalker against Myron Reed. He looked real good. Kind of got a glimpse. It was only one match. I'd like to see more. And then, of course, Lince Dorado has made a lot of noise down in Mexico in AAA and all that. And then now coming up here and testing the waters in North America, and also looking really, really good. I'm expecting an extremely fast-paced match, and with some good aerial and maneuvers and some flips and all that stuff. I think it's going to be good. And I also like the idea of kind of Mexican fast style versus the Japanese dragon style or fast style, whatever you want to call it. This should be good, and I'm down to see more Shun Skywalker.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting to see that one. But again, you want to talk even more excitement, it's the other match that's on the card. Now, when you're going to book a six-man tag match, this is how you book a six-man tag match. On one side, you've got Alex Kane, Mr. Thomas, and the young goat Myron Reed, better known as the Bomaye Fight Club. And they're going to be taking on the debut of the Billington brothers, better known now in MLW as the New British Bulldogs, and the return of Davey Boy Smith Jr. to MLW. This is going to be massive, Papa Smokes.
For sure. And talk about getting that tag division going. Here's a big matchup right here that could have implications for tag team title shots and such too. Even though it's a 6-man tag, we've got a couple of established tag teams involved in this. And I'm excited to see Mr. Thomas in this match. I'm excited to see what Myron Reed can do with Harry Smith and the Billington Bulldogs. This will be good. I wanted to see what the kids look like, the young Billington boys from England, and I'm sure they're fairly new and all that, and just kind of cutting their teeth in MLW. But I'm excited to see what it looks like, and let's get it going with some of this new talent.
It's going to be exciting. And again, we got Ed Fries hopping in. Hey, boys,
Hey,
sorry
Ed.
I'm late. Just hopping in to say hi. Ed, glad you can stop by in any capacity. Really appreciate you doing that. And hello to you too, sir. Again, if anybody hasn't checked it out, Ed and Andre C. did a great version of their show, Marvel Talk, just yesterday on our local establishment. You can catch that replay over on our local establishment now. So go check that out and support Ed and Andre with their show, Marvel Talk. If you want all the best in Marvel news, Marvel reviews, everything involved with Marvel. These two guys are the most knowledgeable guys I have ever met, and you're going to get a great show between the two of them. But here we go, Papa Smokes. You know what time it is, and this is going to be the first time I get to do this 2023, so let's see how the old vocals are working. It's time for the main event of the evening. This match is scheduled for one fall.
One fall.
Yeah, that's what it is, Pop Smokes. On one fall encounter, one-on-one, a couple of big boys in the form of the returning Willie Mack to MLW taking on the Samoan werewolf, Jacob Fatu. Boom, now the excitement's starting to rumble up in this building. We saw a couple of good promos that got us pumped up for the night, a good card in line for next week. But hey, we still got this main event in line, and it didn't disappoint. Started off a little bit slow, a little bit of feeling out each other at the start of the matchup. But again, this one picked up into high gear in big ways. Willie Mack showing a lot of agility and speed for a guy who has been in this business for quite some time. And these two boys did not stop with the slugfest. It was back and forth, slaps and chops and just beating the living hell out of each other. And again, 98% of this match all focused on the ring. This is probably one of the most wrestling-centric matchups that we've seen Jacob Fatu in quite some time.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. Yeah, they didn't even leave the ring at all in this match, and really didn't need to, because he got two big heavyweights that are both quite excellent talents in the world of professional wrestling. I've seen Willie Mack for years now. I've always admired his work. He's a big guy. He's one of those big guys that you don't you expect him to work a certain way in the ring, and then he'll turn around and do something so acrobatic that it just blows your mind, kind of. And he had a couple of spots like that in this match. Did a nice hurricanrana, did a nice running the ropes, nice cartwheel to get out of the way and stuff like that. And you just think, wow, that big guy's really agile. Of course, the same thing is true with Jacob Fatu. So now your mind's really going to get blown, because these are two super heavyweights that can really move in that ring.
Yeah, and again, this one back and forth. And again, just when you think, okay, we've seen the agility, we've seen the speed, then you start to see the power. And Willie Mack putting that on display too, with a very nice scoop slam that I think he turned it into that side slam or whatever there on Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu, not a small man. So again, for Willie to manhandle him in the capacity that he did was phenomenal. And we would see more of that coming from the side of Jacob Fatu as well, that strength and power of Jacob Fatu, and just how clean that guy is in the ring. I can't say it enough. I've said it again and again, and I know you have too. Everything he does is to absolute perfection. He is just, I think it's just born into him. There is something about him that just gets it when it comes to professional wrestling, whether it be his selling, his facials, the way he talks, the way he conducts himself, or just how he performs his moves to not only look like they hurt a lot, but when you really take a close look at them, he is playing it as safe as possible inside that ring while making sure that he doesn't screw up anybody's life for them.
Yeah, and to me, that's a true, in wrestling, they call them workers. A lot of people just think it's work rate, like how many moves you're doing. And and the degree of difficulty and all that stuff. No, working means working safe with your opponent and also working the crowd. So it doesn't matter the difficulty of the moves you're doing. You can do headlocks and punches to the face for your entire match. But if you know how to work the crowd and you know how to work to the cameras and all that, you're working better than the other guy. And that's kind of what I think of as Jacob Fatu. He's got a couple of fancy moves, but a lot of his stuff is just smash mouth brawling, and he makes it look so good. He also makes the opponent look excellent. There you go. There's a good wrestling worker right there. And I think that term gets misused a lot, but there are a lot of wrestlers that if you're a good worker, you don't need to do all that difficult stuff. You don't need to do the triple flips and shooting star presses and all the rest of that stuff. You should be able to bring the crowd in with you and still win with the headlock takeover, theoretically.
Yeah. And you know what makes me most fearful about Jacob Fatu in his career is how long can MLW truly hold on to him? Much longer without him getting scooped by somebody. I know that there's been talks about, I've heard different rumors about his past and being able to get certain visas and stuff like that for being able to travel, which has kept him out from possible bigger signings. But you can't tell me with all the money that's within some of these companies being thrown out that somebody doesn't have the money to make Jacob Fatu capable of traveling the world and becoming the next big star of professional wrestling.
Well, yeah, and just think if your company even got him for a one-shot appearance and he comes in a main event and steals the show with your top guy in your company, I mean, you would want to sign the guy. You would want more. Your fans would want more of him. I mean, just based on talent alone, I would say Jacob Fatu could be running around with the main eventers in the biggest company, in Vince's company, if he got that opportunity and actually wanted to. Now, I'm not sure if Jacob Fatu wants to change his lifestyle enough to do stuff like that and to go to a company that would put restrictions on your outside of the ring behavior and all that kind of stuff too. Not that I think he's up to anything all that bad, but we know that those big companies can be quite restrictive about stuff like that. I'm not sure if he would be into it. I don't know the man personally, but I'm sure he likes making money, and I'm sure he's tempted, and I'm sure he does get offers because from what I can tell, his name is bandied about a lot. It's no secret that he's one of the best unsigned wrestlers out there, but I also think that there are those handful of guys that work for the smaller companies like MLW that kind of enjoy the integrity of working for a smaller company, getting a bit more control in what they can do as a wrestler, and getting a bit of control with their character, being able to be that persona that they thought up, that they want to for themselves as a wrestler. Just continue to be that and develop that for a while before, before going to a bigger company, getting a gimmick change and a name change and having to act completely different.
Yeah, and you know what? I realized that we didn't even get to the meat of the matter. Jacob Fatu pulling off the big victory in this matchup as well, too. Again, he's puts Willie Mack down. He gets that moonsault, and that comes down to one of those moves where, I mean, this guy doesn't even look. He jumps that middle rope. He jumps up on the top. He hits that moonsault. He knows exactly where his opponent is every single time. Never misses, never even comes close to hurting anybody. Every time to absolute perfection. And I'm in awe of it because I could just imagine trying to even think the knowledge of making those jumps, but then blindly doing that moonsault and making sure that you hit it without causing any damage to yourself or to your opponent while still making it look like you've done all the damage in the world. Kudos to Jacob Fatu and a huge victory on this show here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And Fatu, even with his guaranteed title shot from winning the Battle Riot, he still got himself pretty much firmly in a number one contender's position because he's won most of the matches he's had, or all of them, since we returned from the break in the fall. So, I mean, he's got himself primed pretty good. Alexander Hammerstone better watch out now, because if he's got EJ and Nduka and Jacob Fatu breathing down his neck, he better hold on to that title belt tighter. It's going to get taken from him.
You know, and the funny thing about this all is, too, is that interest in Jacob Fatu and Alexander Hammerstone, when the belt was on the other shoulder and Fatu was the champion, that was built over keeping Hammerstone out of that title picture, holding him back, keeping him strong with the victories, keeping the fans firmly behind him, and that excitement was there. It almost seems like they're doing this in a reverse way. Hammerstone involved with Nduka. He's been involved with all sorts of other matches. He had Davey Richards recently, another Richard Holiday match recently, again and again, fighting everybody but the guaranteed number one contender in Jacob Fatu. And again, once that excitement builds once again, they've got themselves a mega main event. And again, if Hammer doesn't get injured in this matchup, and Fatu doesn't, because again, we saw Hammer break his foot, and despite a broken foot inside this matchup, still gave it his all and gave us great things. Can you imagine 100% Jacob Fatu and Alexander Hammerstone finally kicking it off in this next title match against each other?
Oh, yeah, I want to imagine it. And don't forget, you just talked about the build-up to the previous title match of Fatu versus Hammerstone. That was a full year. That was 11 months or something like that. They kept them far apart from each other. They didn't talk to each other. They didn't beat each other up. They didn't interfere in anything. They kept them miles apart from each other for a full year. And that's two top guys. Imagine trying to book around that. Like, we've got only a handful of main event guys, but these two can't go anywhere near each other for a year so that we can build this title match. It's patience. It's painstaking on the part of the booker. I don't know how some of these guys do that sometimes, but what a plan, and how it paid off too. That's the biggest match in MLW's history still, is Fatu versus Hammerstone for sure. And they got the most views on it and the most social media traffic and everything. So, yeah, I wouldn't blame them if they wanted to do that one again, but I bet you they'll take their time and build it all summer.
Yeah, you bet that's going to happen. Again, they'll wait for the perfect time to set that match off, and it's going to be huge when it happens. Again, pending that Hammerstone remains the champion, because we've seen a plethora of opponents coming his way, including the judge, who is going to have his day in court, pun intended, against Alexander Hammerstone for that championship. You see what I did there. Papa Smokes, I think that pretty much wraps up all of MLW. I mean, it was a sluggish start, a little disappointing at times, but picked up. We got a good main event. We got some good promos leading up to the main event. So, I mean, not all bad, but not all great at the same time. But next week, looking like an awesome kick-ass episode ahead of us.
Yeah, we tried. We really tried. We did the best we could with this particular show. Again, I don't know what went wrong. I think something went wrong with this show, and they had to just stitch it together and put it on as it is. I get it. No big deal. That's show business. That's the wrestling business as well. Not everything goes perfectly, but that was, not delivering that title match was kind of unusual for them, and the card next week looks real good, so I'm just going to concentrate on that for now. Keep my ear to the ground and see what happens between Nduka and Hammerstone, because we could have a pretty hot match with that, but I think it needs more build also.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Papa Smokes. So we'll be looking forward to that. You can look forward to coming by and partying with us, the Video Bros, next week after Fusion is all said and done. Right here on Fusion, we have a good time. So let everybody know, get everybody involved, and join us in the chat like some of our great friends, Vassar, Astrid, Mel, and Ed all did tonight. So thank you guys for joining in. And if you're watching the replay of this show, thank you very much. You might be joining in on the Video Bros Network. We'd appreciate a subscribe over there on the Video Bros Network. We're trying to get the Video Bros Network amped up to all new heights over there as well, too. If you're checking us out on Our Local Establishment, give us a follow here on Twitch, or go check out Our Local Establishment on YouTube and all the socials to give a follow, subscribe, all those great things. We have a lot of great contributors here on the channel doing a lot of wonderful things, and we want you to make sure you're checking out all of their work and supporting all their outside work as well, too, that they do. Papa Smokes, though, in the meantime and in between time, where can people find you? Where can they reach out to you? Where can they talk wrestling with Papa Smokes?
Well, I'm always accepting cards and letters from all my fans, but if you're one of those cyber people, I can be found in Elon Musk's free speech wonderland, also known as Twitter, at smokes_papa, and you can find me on Twitch at papa_smokes_.
There you go. You heard it from the man himself. And again, if you're looking to reach out to me, I'm not very hard to find. I'm all over the place, and you'll see me here all throughout the week on our local establishment. You'll see me on Wednesday nights with Carl Carafel talking beats and beatdowns, all things music and wrestling influence. On Sundays, busting out with my boy Chris Parrish, my brunch buster brother. And we have got a special guest joining us this Sunday, so you're going to want to tune in to that. We've got a great man joining us there on our Sunday show, so it's going to be interesting to have a guest. But again, if you're joining us on any of the socials right now or on any of our channels, make sure to like, subscribe, and all those things. We appreciate everything you guys do for us, and we will see you again next Thursday. But make sure to check out Prairie Pro Wrestling this Saturday for the return of matches being called by myself and Papa Smokes. Take care, and we'll see you soon.